What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown, presented by Prime Sports World. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, here with my main man from the Daily Blitz.blog, Mr. Christian Simpson, here on the eve of week number 2. We're already on week 2 of college football. I got college football on 2, watching Northern Illinois versus Maryland and some other college football games tonight. But we'll get into week 1. But before, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World and catch us on all streaming platforms as well. But Christian, what's going on, man?
Oh man, it's Friday night, man. Football is back, and it seems like it's better than ever now. I mean, week 1 was highly entertaining, and I know you and I are gonna break that down. The Chiefs and Chargers are on right now as we speak. The Cowboys played the Eagles yesterday, and
really good game yesterday too.
Good game. Minus a certain somebody's actions. Not even. Don't get me started. Don't get.
We'll talk about that. I guess we'll talk about that with David and David, TJ. Hopefully I'll be on there.
Yeah, I'll be on there.
This week.
Yeah, we'll definitely get it going with that. But nah, man, I'm just ready to break down a little bit of college football with you.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. And this week, it's not too many, eventful games. I know you previewed, a certain game, previewed Michigan and Oklahoma. We'll get to it, but it was tough to find, some real, competitive games this week. Hopefully, it'll be a more eventful college football week as it was last week. But we'll get into the first week of the season, which is number 3 Ohio State beating number 1 Texas in the horseshoe. And it was Arch Manning's first game, not first game starting, but first game. Everybody anointed him as the presumptuous Heisman Trophy winner, Christian. He was very lackluster, 17-30, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was very inaccurate. Julian Sand was, a modest 13-20 for only, 1 touchdown, 126 yards. He's basically, I saw somebody on the internet say earlier this year, like, dude, we have a Lamborghini or we have a Bugatti, just don't crash it, and that's exactly what Julian Sand did. He drove the Lamborghini around the corner, parked it, didn't scratch it, or crash it. So that's all they want because the defense held its own for most of the game. Quintavion Wisner did run for 16 carries, 80 yards. CJ Donaldson, the bruising back here for Ohio State, 19 carries for 67 yards in the tutty. Like I said, new freshman quarterback Julian Sand will probably get under his feet. Jeremiah Smith didn't have the greatest game. Carnell Tate was the leading receiver at 49 yards and a touchdown. But Christian, this game was supposed to be, Texas's. I heard, Texas supposed to go in there and beat the brakes off Ohio State. What happened, man?
I mean, I think Ohio State took it personally. Word to Michael Jordan. Right. They heard it all year long. They heard it all week long heading into the game. Man, number 1 Texas, they're coming into the shoe. Arch Manning is going to run circles and throw circles around them. But remember, these are the guys that won a national championship last year. And, they came in and played with that chip on their shoulder. They took that underdog mentality and, they took it seriously. They ran with it. I look at Ohio State, and the biggest key that I took away from this game is, and I even told you and Matt this as we were all watching the game, Matt Patricia coached circles around Steve Sarkisian, and I love what he did. He bought a lot of pre-snaps at the line of scrimmage, and then pretty much opted out and confused Arch Manning, and Arch didn't know how to adjust. You couldn't ask Texas defense to play any better than what they did. I mean, this almost kind of reminds me of the end of last year, that SEC championship game that we talked about. Defense played great, offense just couldn't come away and score points, leaving points on the table. You can move the ball down the field, but when you're in that red zone, you got to be able to capitalize on scoring somehow, some way. You know, 3 isn't always going to win you football games. You got to find some way to come away with 6 points. And as far as Ohio State and Julian saying, you know, I was impressed with this kid. They didn't need him to take the game over. They didn't need him to be Will Howard or CJ Stroud. You know, they just kind of needed him to hand the ball off, make throws, don't turn the football over, but most importantly, don't lose the football game. And he checkmarked everything that I just mentioned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you have Ohio State pretty much, put the game away early in the fourth quarter when they scored that second touchdown, because the defense was pretty much on point all game long. And Texas just, even though they had the more yards, Ohio State controlled the ball, right? They controlled time of possession, 32 minutes to 27 minutes. So they ran the ball a little bit more effectively, in my opinion. But just they played a slower pace of offense, of a game plan. And I just think they were just a more physical team. It's hard to go into the horseshoe early on in the season. We all know, like, first game, I coach 10-year-olds, and we practice. We try and integrate the offense. You only got, you got a couple weeks to kind of get them into shape, and then you got another couple weeks. You got a few scrimmages here and there. We're scrimmaging every week, every day. You got some some jamborees and some scrimmages against other districts. On a couple weekends, like a couple preseason games. Before the actual game, and then when you get into the first game, you think that you would have the offense kind of running on point, and really what carries and translates into the first week is usually defense. As the offense usually kind of lags back a little bit as you're trying to kind of square up that execution versus each other, but defense always travels. I think both teams actually did play a great defensively against each other, but Ohio State was just just in the end. I mean, they had more weapons, so to speak, offensively. When you get the 40-yard touchdown pass in the fourth quarter early on to Carnell Tate, that shows proof of the offensive weaponry that Ohio State had. So, kudos to them. Ohio State, beats number 1 Texas in the shoe. Moving on to number 9 LSU, as they outlasted number 4 Clemson in Death Valley. And this one was a pretty damn interesting, really interesting game. I think with this game, Garrett Nussmeier pretty much showed that he's probably going to be the Heisman favorite after this week. Just how efficient he was, 28 to 38, 1 touchdown for 232 yards. Caleb Durham, 17 carries, 74 yards to lead all running backs in this game, and a touchdown. And LSU, I mean, they just continue to pump out the wide receivers. Aaron Anderson, 6 catches, 99 yards.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about those linebackers. We talked about Harold Perkins and Wes Weeks.
Whit Weeks, yeah.
Whit Weeks, yeah. And these guys, and I forgot, I didn't even know, like, the weeks. There's like 3 weeks on there. There's Whit Weeks, there's Wes Weeks, there's another week, there's next week, there's last week on the team. So, but yeah, Harold Perkins had a sack. Wes Weeks had 4 tackles. And this was a pretty interesting game. I thought Clemson, they jumped out to a 10-3 lead early on. In the first half, and then LSU scored. Had more offense in the end, in the third and fourth quarter to kind of pull away. But defensively is where I was very impressed with LSU. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, and coming into the game, you remember what my question was to you and Matt? I said, can this Clemson offense, can they move the ball on this LSU defense? And we saw they couldn't. LSU held them to 10 points. last weekend. And my biggest key going into that game was, can LSU keep Cade Klubnik in the pocket? Don't let him buy time. Don't let him throw with a moving pocket. Keep him in a pocket, contain him, hit him, bring pressure up the A and B gap. And they did that. This LSU defense was fast. They attacked at the point. They swarmed to the ball as a unit. Just a great collective effort. And I think this is a huge win for Brian Kelly, because remember, coming into this game, he had never won an opener as LSU's head coach. Now he's finally pushed that monkey off his shoulders.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. And this was a good opportunity for Clemson to show that they were actually, for real. And they did. They showed that they were for real for a half. And then, you got to play 4 quarters of football. And I'm not necessarily thinking that, not necessarily saying that they weren't for real, all game long. But offensively, like I said, man, it's Clemson has probably one of the easier schedules of all the Power 4 conference teams. I mean, everybody was saying Clemson, is a national, championship contender. They're probably the weaker of the national championship contenders. If you had to put a top 5, they'd probably be number 5. But I think that, Clemson's offense, just like I said, it'll catch on. But against an SEC opponent, they had an opportunity to really show that they were for real at home against LSU, and they kind of fell short, on that. They couldn't get the running game going at all.
No, they couldn't.
And that was big right there.
And that was another one of my questions coming into the game. Who was going to step up as running back 1 for the Clemson Tigers? Because Phil Mafah, he was a big part of what they did offensively last year. And I thought he was that guy that took a lot of pressure off Cade. And yeah, Clemson just really struggled, which is weird to say because Clemson always has a pretty consistent ground game.
Yeah, no, they do, absolutely. And I just think that, like I said, week 1 is where teams, kind of like still struggling a little bit offensively, certain teams, obviously against, tougher competition. And also, like I said, defense always will remain, especially, while offenses are still trying to get it together, is another example of that. Right here, but I think Clemson will be okay. I mean, losing to LSU early in the season isn't. You'd rather lose early than lose late, or lose towards the end of the season, in the middle of the season, while you're in your college football playoff campaign. So I think that this is not a bad loss, but it's a loss that they can definitely bounce back from and kind of. And keep it going, as they got ACC play is going to be a lot easier for them to just stack up wins. Anyways, next on the slate we got, you guys can call me Istradamus now these days. Florida State, unranked Florida State beats and upsets number 8 Alabama in Tallahassee, Florida. Man, what a game for the Florida State Seminoles. I called it to a T. And I know you guys were kind of like in agreement. You were in agreement a little bit about Tommy Castellanos, 9 of 14, 152 yards, but that's not where he killed them. He killed them with his legs and extending plays, 16 carries, 78 yards, a touchdown. On the other side, Alabama, Ty Simpson, 23 of 43, not that efficient, 2 touchdowns, 254 yards as they were behind. Jeremy Bernard had an excellent game, 146 yards and 8 catches. But, man, you know what? All in all, Florida State came out and they just punched Alabama in the mouth, knocked them out. And Alabama just really could never recover in this game, especially in a hostile environment like this. And you know what? I'll say this. I just get this off my chest right now. Alabama, y'all soft now these days. I'm sorry. Kalen DeBoer got them because I swear Nick Saban would never allow this to happen. I know they had troubles with mobile quarterbacks in the past, but Alabama just doesn't have a certain edge to them anymore with under Kalen DeBoer.
No, they don't. And like you said, Alabama, they have never really, they're not built to limit mobile quarterbacks, Izzy. They're built to just play straight up. Oh, okay. We're gonna get pressure on you. Our secondary is they're gonna lock everything down, and we're gonna do a lot of coverage sacks. And like you said, Alabama just got punched in the mouth left and right. Castellanos was out there just running for his life and running with the wind, pretty much. Dare I say it, I think we've seen the glory days of Alabama because they don't fear. I don't fear them anymore like I used to. Remember when Saban was the head coach? Like you feared them. Oh, what's Alabama gonna do? You look forward to seeing what Alabama was gonna do. Now I just don't. I don't get those vibes from them anymore. But this is a huge win for Florida State, and when you can win a game like this in week one, it kind of jump starts everything for your season moving forward. Let's see where the Seminoles go from here. Now, this is by far the biggest win under Mike Norvell.
Yeah, it is, and also the reason why I say they don't have an edge. I mean, 8 penalties. I mean, Saban, you ran a tight ship. They just played sloppy football, not focused football. Alabama just didn't look themselves, and in every facet of the game, Florida State just really controlled every facet of the game. Time of possession, they were able to get timely third downs. They had more yards offensively. They played timely defense. I mean, they were the more aggressive team in the trenches. I mean, at one point they were up 24-7 on Alabama, and it was just all she wrote. Pretty much from the onset on. After Alabama got that first touchdown, and then after that it was all she wrote. Florida State woke up and pretty much continued to take it to Alabama. So Florida State is looking back looking dangerous because they got a lot of athletes in Tallahassee this year. Like I said, they got some really good transfers that they brought in. But pretty much Mike Norvell just scrapped last year's team and pretty much rebuilt this whole team from scratch again, and through the transfer portal and through recruiting, and he's done a fantastic job so far. The way it looks like, and they look like they have pretty much glued everything together really fast before the season, getting a big win over a ranked opponent at home. So got to give credit where credit is due for Florida State. And lastly, on the list for week one's headlines, we got number 10 Miami defeating number 6 Notre Dame. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish down in Hard Rock Stadium at home in Miami. This game got a little interesting at the end there. As Miami, as Notre Dame made a little bit of a push in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough to overcome Miami. Carson Beck, 20-31, 2 touchdowns, 205 yards. You might have the catch of the year.
CJ Daniels.
With CJ Daniels.
That kid, wow.
That was an incredible.
Izzy, we were talking as that play was going on. I'm like, Izzy, did you see what this kid just did? And yeah. See, let me just tell the listeners, look, man, Izzy and I talk all the time. Like when Florida State beat Alabama, I just hit Izzy up and I'm just like, look,
Yeah. I mean, I could have saw that a mile away, man. I felt like Florida State was a little hungry, and I feel like in this game too, I think Miami was a little hungry, and I kind of figured, and with that 17-point kind of spurt for Notre Dame, last year they started out slow, losing to Northern Illinois. This year, they go into Miami, they lose to Miami by 3. New quarterback CJ Carr, he definitely didn't look like he had some big game jitters for a majority of the game, and then he kind of turned it on in the fourth quarter in the second half.
Yeah, he definitely did. But I kind of want to point fingers at the Notre Dame coaching staff because you got to open the playbook up for this kid. There was one time when he wasn't throwing the ball past 3 yards. It's a lot of screens. It's a lot of dink and dumps. Now you got to open the playbook up to see what you're capable of getting from this kid.
Yeah.
I got to give Miami a lot of credit because they were up
Yes.
ready for this game. They bottled up Jeremiah Love, but Notre Dame could have got you Darian Price going a little bit more because it seemed like every time he touched the ball, Izzy, good things happened. You remember
Yeah.
that drive when they were moving the ball down the field, and I
Yeah.
could tell Notre Dame is going to miss Howard Cross in the middle. He was that lane eater. He was that pocket pusher. He was that guy that commanded a lot of attention, and everyone else was able to roam around freely to the ball. But give Miami a lot of credit. Mario Cristobal had his young men ready to play. And remember, coming into the game, I even told you, which version of Carson Beck were we going to get? Were we going to get the guy that threw 24 touchdown passes a couple of seasons ago in Athens, or were we going to get the guy last year who threw 28 touchdown passes but 12 interceptions? But he looked like he was in control, didn't have to do too much, found his wide receivers, and Malachi Tony, he reminds me a lot of T.Y. Hilton.
Man, I'm going to throw out another name too that I called out last week in this game, and that's Ruben Bain.
Yeah.
He looked like a man amongst boys in this game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the backfield. He was disruptive. He had really, I thought it was a full sack, but I gave him a half a sack. But he was disruptive. He was a guy that really, they couldn't really guard him. Like nobody on Notre Dame's team could guard Ruben Bain Jr. And he was just looking like that man right there. And so interesting to see how this Miami defense is really talented. They did a much better job at stopping the run. I mean, between Price, you talked about Jeremiah Love as well. Two really good running backs. They were able to kind of bottle those guys up.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on the CJ Carr thing. I think after this week, I think you will see them open up the offense a little bit more. Yeah, CJ Carr. But I think they were kind of being, putting the trading wheels on him against a really tough opponent. And you saw a little bit that they opened it up in the fourth quarter. They had to. But they're going to have to open it up for the rest of the season if they're going to make it back to the college football playoff. But Notre Dame, this is not a bad loss in my opinion. Like I said, you lose early to Miami. In Miami's improved. They're coming back kind of with a little bit more swagger. That defense majority of it came back this season. So their staple is gonna be defense. Are they like the Miami teams of the past? No, not at all. But they're a really capable team of pushing Clemson in the ACC. I was really disappointed that they didn't make the college football playoff last season. I feel like they should have gotten in over SMU. They would have had a better shot at making giving Penn State some go, in my opinion. But I think hopefully this year Mario Cristobal has them in that position to be in the college football playoff, because I think college football is really good when you have those great generational staple teams in national in the national championship picture, especially when the college football playoff you can have 12 teams like Miami, Florida State, teams like Notre Dame, those type of teams that have that cachet, Penn State, stuff like college football is really enjoyable to watch. Texas, really enjoyable to watch. I was really happy a couple years ago when Michigan won it, right? Because you're always so used to the SEC, always winning it. Michigan, and then Ohio State wins it. You know what I mean? So it's always good things when Miami and Florida State are doing great, and hopefully another Florida team. When all three Florida teams are playing really good, college football is in a really good place. The Florida Gators, will have something. They have a big game, with the LSU, coming up here. Anyways, not this week, but the following weeks or whatever.
Definitely.
So anyways, that wraps up week 1 and week 2 top 25. A little bit of a shakeup. Miami moves up 5 slots into the top 5. You got Ohio State moves up to number 1, moving up 2 slots from number 3. Texas moves down 6 slots to number 7. We got Clemson moving down 4 slots to number 8. Notre Dame doesn't move down too much. Like I said, that wasn't a bad loss to Miami. I mean, Miami actually does really look like a top 5 team, especially defensively. So losing to Miami on the road, only by 3 points, with a pretty much a freshman quarterback or first year starting quarterback is not too bad. South Carolina, they got their own Heisman front runner in Lenora Sellers. They move up 3 slots into the top 10. And then Florida State, they move up the board a lot. They move up into the top 14. Top 14, Christian, 26 slots. Everybody said that team looks for real at home. They are an unranked team. They moved up 26 slots. I don't think I've ever seen a team move up that fast and that high. Like 26 slots is a lot of teams to jump. So they basically said Florida State is a lot better than what we thought they were. Iowa State moves up 6 slots. Alabama, though, they moved down 13 slots into number 21. And I can't remember when Alabama was outside the top 10. Like in the last, man, drop 35, bro. Like, I can't remember before Nick Saban got there, maybe, was the last time they went in the top 10.
Yeah, and I remember them struggling. I remember them struggling, I think, a season or two when Nick got there. But look at how everything ended up panning out. He turns himself into the greatest college football coach of all time. And look, I want to say there's some optimism, but the way this is looking right now, Izzy, look, I'm in shape. I could go out there and give him a couple of snaps if I wanted to. We got 30-something-year-olds right now. Izzy, could you imagine me on one end and you on the other end? Who gonna stop?
Man, I swear I can feel my Achilles. I can feel my Achilles popping already. I can't hang with them young dudes.
Yeah, man. But look,
I can't even hang with my 10-year-olds, man. Them little jokers be breaking my ankles. We got like we do like passing drills, right?
Yeah,
we work with the running backs and wide receivers early on before practice, and I try and bump and run. I try and play press coverage on the kids, and I'd be like, just kind of prepare them to get off the line real fast, just kind of work with their footwork. Man, these kids be breaking my ankles, bro. I'm sorry.
Listen, I'm not going nowhere. I'm comfortable in the analyst chair, so you ain't got to worry about losing me.
Real tough. They might have a better chance going to 37U football to go get some of them dudes.
Yeah, because look,
get you Uncle Rico, Alabama.
I think the issue with Alabama, it's a lack of discipline. It's a lack of discipline. I talk to Coach Rock all the time, and he always preached to me when he coached you. Look, discipline was the one thing that we needed to succeed as a football team. Because if we didn't have that, we knew we were going to lose a lot of games. And yeah, Nick just ran that tight ship all those years in Tuscaloosa, and now it just seems like he took that with him when he decided to retire.
I think Matt James joined us. I don't know how long Matt was in there while we were talking. You didn't say anything, Christian. How long were you in the queue for, Matt?
About 2 seconds until we started. I was kind of glancing over we got like 2 or 3 games going on.
Wait, you were in there? You were in there that whole first segment?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just say anything? You could have just said something in the group, put me in.
I was watching the end of the James Madison Louisville, catching some of the Boise game, Northern. We got all sorts of stuff going on right now. So
welcome to the show, Matt James. Anyways, yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah, we talked about the week 1, and I didn't know Matt James was in the queue that whole time. My bad.
Yeah, I didn't catch the earlier games on that one.
Yeah, say something. You know what?
Let it slide over. So
me and Christian get in the zone. I just glance. I just be forgetting everything. I be forgetting. I be hosting sometimes.
Ohio State game. I was kind of scoreboard watching on that, and the Florida State Alabama.
I caught the late night game last week. I was gonna finish out the top 25. And I'll get your thoughts on this, Matt. But I caught the late night game last week, Christian, because I was really interested in seeing how Nico Iamaleava was going to play with UCLA. And golly, that is going to be a train wreck. I mean, Utah looked really good last week. They jumped into the top 25 up a couple slides. They were already on the outside looking in. They have another mobile quarterback. Godly, I'm gonna look up his name right now, but he's looking like he's like one of those guys that's gonna be difficult to guard, especially in the Big 12 this season. But yeah, Nico Iamaleava, he really struggled with this really hard. I mean, I it actually we actually talk about that game just a little bit because he was controversial. Everybody knows who watches college football. He was controversial at leaving a lot of money on the table. He got a little greedy and left a lot of money on the table with Tennessee. They got smacked 43-10. And the guy I'm talking about is
Devin Dampier.
Devin Dampier. Yeah, Devin Dampier from Phoenix. Yeah, he was looking really good last week, passing and throwing. He's that damn New Mexico quarterback that was really good last year. That when they were playing Godly, I think they were playing Boise State. Or was it Boise State or it was Godly? I was watching a game last year and he was the quarterback at New Mexico. I think it might have been against UNLV, where he was looking great last year. But anyways, transfer to Utah. And, I mean, Nico Iamaleava, 11-22, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 47 yards rushing. That is a train wreck.
That's the second half of the season.
I can see. Yeah, and the kid from Tennessee actually looked a lot better. He looked really good in the system in that win against Syracuse this past week. As he was looking really comfortable as well. That was Aguilar, Joey Aguilar, who was looking real good in Tennessee's system. Transferred from Appalachian State. So I mean that's looking like something to kind of keep your eye on with Nico, because that might turn into a situation where by next year Nico might be on his third college team, transferring out. He might end up like that kid TJ Finley. You know what I mean? 6 teams in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like crazy.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. I wonder if he's starting to regret. Should I have stayed on the job?
He should have stayed.
Yeah, he should have stayed. He
should have stayed, because you want to know something? If he stays, Tennessee's set up. If he stays, Tennessee's actually set up to make the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ranked 20, whatever. He stays, they're ranked in the top 10, top 12. And they're right on the cusp of, being SEC, title contenders and being in the college football playoff. But you leave for money. Yeah, that's the era we in now these days, where it's like the kids are leaving for money left and right. And I don't blame some of the smaller school kids. Like NIU lost a bunch of kids to top programs because they were getting money, and teams are like, okay, you're going to start here, or you may not start here, you're going to contribute here, or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. But they still went and got the money, right? As opposed to this kid, he had it all, man. He had a great head coach, an offense that was built around your talent, and you were getting paid at Tennessee pretty significantly. There was no reason to leave. You go to UCLA, or even worse situation. The talent there is nowhere near where Tennessee's is. The program tradition is nowhere near where Tennessee's is. I mean, you actually went there and got less money. And so it's a shitty situation for Nico Iamaleava. I wish the kid the best, but yeah, he kind of put his foot in his, kind of mucked himself up and put his foot in his mouth with that one.
Yeah, he definitely did. I agree.
Yeah. So, anyways, moving on to the week 2 games to watch. And we don't have many games this week that are really, that stand out this week. But we still got to make this this segment here of the show. But starting with the first game, we got Iowa. We got a rivalry game here, so to speak. There in Ames, Iowa, at Jack Trice Stadium, with Iowa from the Big Ten going up against number 16 Iowa State, going up against Rocco Beck, who had a sensational game in Dublin, Ireland, a couple weeks ago, or whatever the case is, last week, a couple games ago against Kansas State. So, and then you got Mark Gronowski, who's Naperville's finest. Matt James. Nequa Valley. I'm glad Matt James is on here because I couldn't wait for him. I was like, I hope he's on here because I was talking about Mark Gronowski. Nequa Valley's finest, Mark Gronowski, is the signal caller for Iowa. But this game right here has a 3.5 point spread. So when I was making games this week, I was looking at the spread and seeing which top games with Power 4 games that are kind of going to be close. And this one was a minus 3.5 point spread here, so it's kind of can go either way. Iowa State is obviously favored at home. I'll start with you, Matt James, since you didn't get a chance to go. Going ahead. Stage is,
I mean, I don't want to just throw Iowa completely off of this one. I mean, this is a rivalry game. But Iowa State is definitely at least 3 steps ahead of them right now. And we'll see. I mean, as you mentioned, Gronowski transferring there. I mean, getting a chance to go up against the big boys here soon is going to be those of the Big Ten, but out of the Big 12 now in the in-state rival. But, I mean, I'm going to take Iowa State to win this pretty handily. I mean, there's miles ahead of them. Rocco Beck's going to outclass the young kid from Naperville, Nequa Valley. And, I don't really see much into this one, to be honest. I'm kind of surprised it's such a narrow
spread
line here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Iowa, I think they're one of those teams that like you said, Mark Gronowski, he did wonders in the FBS. I believe he was playing for the with the Jackrabbits. I think he was
South Dakota State.
Yeah, South Dakota State. I actually liked him there as well. Really nice, poised quarterback. He actually put up some decent numbers at South Dakota State. Very accurate.
Fine year last year.
Yeah, he only had threw 20 interceptions his whole career, 94 touchdowns. On the year. And I remember this kid 4 years ago when he came out of Nequa Valley. He was playing at South Dakota State his first year, and I said it right out the bat. I said, "Man, this kid's going to be a hell of a player for South Dakota. You might take him to a national championship or something like that." And I was touting him, back then, and I think he's going to be a real asset to Iowa this year, especially. Iowa, has had some struggles at the quarterback position in years, right? They've been, a run-first team, defensive team. Now, they have a quarterback to kind of, kind of make them, a little bit better than what they were in previous years. So I gotta go. I gotta give Iowa some credit here, but I'm gonna go Iowa State. At home by a slim margin. I actually take the 3.5 point spread, to be honest with you, because I like that Iowa State team. I think Rocco Beck's, I think that team has a little bit more continuity and it's just a little bit more talented. They can run the football. They got that two-headed monster at running back that is going to give Iowa some problems.
Yeah, looking at this matchup, I remember I previewed this in 2021. And Iowa State had a quarterback by the name of Brock Purdy. Now, Rocco Beck is playing, and man, what a game he had last week. He completed his first 14 passes and then finished the game 19-20. That's 95% of a completion percentage right there. I mean, look, I like this Iowa State team. I think they play hard for Matt Campbell, and I'm surprised Matt hasn't been contacted for any bigger jobs or even an NFL job. He's young, he's energetic. His teams obviously enjoy playing for him. And Iowa State tomorrow, they're going to give this Iowa defense a ton of problems because they have a two-headed monster at tight end. Watch out for Gabe Burkle. He's 6'6", about 250 pounds. Wide catch radius, knows how to position himself to catch that ball. And he's a fluid athlete in space. I do like Iowa State in this one because I don't know if Mark Gronowski is able to make a throw. Xavier Williams is going to be key for Iowa, but when Iowa State crowds that line of scrimmage, can Mark drop back into the pocket and can he make a throw? That's to be determined.
Hey, they got to watch out a little bit for his legs, though, because he
He
get out and run a little bit.
Yeah, all I know is my game plan is simple. He ain't leaving that pocket. I'm telling you right now, is he?
Yeah, and you know what? I know. Looking at his stats right now, he only threw for 44 yards against.
He completed only like 8 of his 15 pass attempts
against Albion. I mean, they played Albion. I mean, Albany. They played Albany. I mean, I'm they were running the football all over Albany, but yeah, you probably wanted to see a little bit more out of Mark Gronowski, but yeah, Iowa State. Abu Sama and Carson Hansen are going to be a load for Iowa. You got lightning, you got thunder right there in the backfield. And I can see a game where, Abu Sama really breaks a couple big ones on Iowa this week. But with doing so, I think that defense is going to come to play, especially because it's a rivalry game. So we'll see. Anyways, next game on the slate, we got number 11 Illinois going up against number Duke, and I know some of these matchups are a little underwhelming, but for some reason in this game, Illinois is only favored by 2.5 points against Duke, which is very interesting. Luke Altmaier transferred from a couple years ago from Ole Miss, going up against a very talented quarterback in Darian Mensah. Christian, we talked a little bit about this kid, last season. He played at Tulane. He was, pretty talented, kid at throwing the football. He's got great range of motion. But he's a guy that comes in, to Duke, and, he's got them already, 1-0. This is a tough game. Illinois is going on the road to Duke. I wouldn't be surprised if, Duke possibly can pull off an upset here against Illinois. I didn't have them as an upset, but this is one of those games in which Illinois should win, but we'll see going on the road against a Duke team in Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that can go either way. This has trap game written all over it. But
yeah,
across the board, I think Illinois just has too much for Duke. So I'm going to go Illinois, but I think Duke can play them tough.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois definitely has more talent. They've been playing well the last couple seasons. I'm going to take Duke on this one.
Ooh,
I mentioned a couple weeks ago Duke being one of my dark horses in the ACC.
You did say that.
Mensah has a good game, and Duke's defense holds their own at home in Durham. Give me Duke in a close one.
Ooh, man, that's an upset of the week for Matt James there. We're going to call that for Matt James upset of the week.
I see you, MJ.
We're going to call that upset of the week right there. Next game we got on the slate, we got number 20 Ole Miss going into Kentucky to face the Wildcats here. This one's Ole Miss is an 8.5 point favorite in this game. This is one of those games where this is another like trap game written over it. I know that Kentucky, in the past has pulled off some upsets against some quality SEC opponents. I can see this one kind of going that way in a way. I think Kentucky can probably put up some points. They have a running back in Dante Dow who's really, really talented. He can, possibly give, Ole Miss some problems. And we remember Dante Dow from Nebraska last year. He was, one of the starters there. He had 12 touchdowns in the Big Ten. His first game, 14 carries, 129 yards, and a touchdown. On the ground for Kentucky. So I can see him doing that against Ole Miss. He's a big back, 6'2", 227. So watch out for Kentucky trying to play time possession, giving the ball a lot to Dante Dowell against Ole Miss. And then on the other side, we got Austin Simmons, who's very talented for Ole Miss. He obviously, was the backup last year as a true freshman for Jackson Dart. He gets the reins this year. But Austin Simmons is was one of the top quarterbacks coming out of high school. And he comes in here. I mean, he had a lackluster game, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 341 yards in their first game. But how do you guys see this one shaking out? This is going to be a afternoon game, 2:30 p.m. Might rain a little bit, so that's in favor of Kentucky, in my opinion. And Ole Miss, they went against Georgia State 63-7. Really wasn't, tested there as opposed to Kentucky. Their first game was against Toledo, 24-16, a little bit better of an opponent, in my opinion. How do you guys see this one shaking out?
I'm going to go with Ole Miss in a close one here. Simmons, Wallace connect again. Kentucky, I mean, they can control the clock, as you said. They can pull the upset, but I'm going to go Ole Miss late in the game.
Nice call on Harrison Wallace, right? Because we talk about him a lot last year, Christian, at Penn State when he was at Penn State. And now he's here catching passes for Ole Miss as well. He can be a game changer for them.
Yeah, he really can. But I like the way this Kentucky team plays because they stay within their box. They don't try to jump out of it. If you're a team that likes to run it and gun it, they're going to play their own style of football. I'm with you. I'm actually going to go with the upset as well. I'm taking Kentucky over Ole Miss. And Izzy, whenever we take the upsets together, good things happen.
Good things happen. And
oh, boy.
Upset of the week. And I know y'all see it down there. Upset of the week. Number 20, Ole Miss goes down to Kentucky. Goes down to Kentucky. I think Rico Dow is going to have a big game. Big game. I saw that game against Toledo. I understand 24-16. They have quarterback issues. I don't care. They're going to give that ball to Rico Dow about 100 times next week. And you know what he's going to do? You know what happens when a 6'2", 228-pound power back keeps running and putting his body on you and bumping his body on you? We see it in the NFL all the time with that bad man, Derrick Henry, coming down. Man. That's a grown-ass man coming in between the tackles. You don't want to tackle that late in the game. You don't want to tackle that late in the game.
Or if you do try to tackle Derrick Henry or any of those power backs, aim for their legs. Do not tackle high. Izzy, how many times have I said that on the Prime and on this show?
Yeah. And honestly, and I'll tell you right now, this guy, Zach Calzada, he comes from I'm looking at his stats he comes from like Incarnate Word, the same college that Cam Ward came from when he went to Miami, before he went to Washington State and then he went to Miami. But he put up some numbers at Incarnate Word before he transferred over, 35 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So maybe they can open it up a little bit for Zach Calzada. But I think the guy that Ole Miss is going to key in on is Dante Dowell. And, man, look, I'll tell you this right now. I think Dante Dowell is going to have a big game. So, yeah, I think 6'2", 227, big physical, grown man running that football. They're going to keep, they're going to, keep that ground game going, in my opinion. And I like Kentucky to win this football game. It's my upset of the week. It's going to be raining. You ain't going to be able to throw the football. And I'll tell you, the young man threw 2 interceptions last week. Austin Simmons did. If he turns the ball over against Kentucky, it could be a long day for Ole Miss. I can very well see this being an upset. And it is my upset of the week. And then we have our game of the week, ladies and gentlemen. And Christian already previewed this game. I'll let him have the floor first. Number 15, Michigan, going up against number 18, Oklahoma. And I believe this one is in Oklahoma, right? Correct, Christian?
Yeah, it's in Norman. Game day is going to be
Norman.
there, and I actually preview it tomorrow. So Izzy, you know what time it is, baby.
Oh, you preview this tomorrow? I thought I saw it was today, but here we go. Here we go.
1, 2, 3. Shameless plug number one, baby,
and the only one of the week, probably,
and the only one. Nah, man, this is, believe it or not, this is only the second matchup ever between these two schools. The last time they played was in 1976 for the Orange Bowl. Yeah, for the Orange Bowl on January 1st, 1976. I looked that up today as I was writing the preview. This is such an intriguing quarterback matchup. You have Bryce Underwood in one corner, and there's a lot of hype surrounding this kid. And Brent Venables paid him quite the compliment. I don't know if you guys saw what he said. He was like, look, this kid is special. I kind of get a Trevor Lawrence feel from him. That's saying something, because we remember how good Trevor was in Clemson.
That's crazy.
And then Oklahoma last year, they really struggled to do much of anything on the offensive side of the ball. So Brent really had to dive in to the transfer portal, go out, get some resources, and he brings in a quarterback by the name of John Mateer. And he's a mobile guy. He can move the pocket. He can throw from the pocket. And I want to see how Wink Martindale is going to attack him. But Oklahoma, they can attack him with screen passes and that's the way you neutralize a strong defensive front. Get rid of the ball quickly. They can't do anything. Now, this is going to be a fun one. I think this is a must-win for either team. I think the team that wins this game ends up making the playoff, potentially. I preview it tomorrow, and as usual, Matt and Izzy will be the first to see it, so be on the lookout for it.
Absolutely. This is gonna be one of those games that I think can go down to the wire here, and this is gonna show, man. I mean, we saw on Get Up or whatever, Dan Orlovsky saying that Bryce Underwood is a generational talent. Everybody's been touting this guy as one of the best quarterbacks to come out of the state of Michigan, one of the best quarterbacks to come into the University of Michigan. So this is one of those guys that he's a kid that we got to look out for, man. We got to look out for coming up here for years to come. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how far along Oklahoma is. I know it's only game 2, and John Mateer. Yeah, they definitely need to protect the ball in this one. I mean, Michigan, as we know, very good defensively. And I'm going to take Michigan on this one on the road. I feel like their defense is still ahead of Oklahoma right now on where they're trending is on the upwards. I mean, not quite the college football playoff, but definitely put more pressure on the SEC standings. But give me Michigan to win this one and containing Mateer and winning the turnover battle.
Yeah, no, and look, like you said, man, John Mateer is a pretty dang good quarterback in his own right. Transferred from Washington State. He also was, he's also throwing it to what was it, Viante? I think it's what's his name? Christian, is it Viantez Lewis, the kid from
I think it's Keontez Lewis. If I'm
Keontez Lewis, I said Viantez Lewis. Keontez Lewis. Yeah. He's actually an East St. Louis Flyer. You know what I mean? The kid from East St. Louis, Illinois, but he put up some numbers there at SIU. He had 9 catches for over 100 yards and a touchdown last week. So that's a kid that you got to watch out for in this game. But yeah, I'm on the front with Matt James. I like Michigan. I like this Bryce Underwood kid, man. I think he's an amazing talent. I also think that Michigan still has their identity, right? running the football. We saw what Justin Haynes did last week. 16 carries, 159 yards, and 3 touchdowns, right? When you have a running game that you can rely on like that, you know what I mean? Where he's popping off 9.9 a carry, that's a really big thing for a true freshman quarterback. So I do like the University of Michigan, but it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think this game might be in the 30s. I don't know what the spread is for this one. I believe you have I believe it's a 4.5 point spread for Oklahoma and 44.5 points. So yeah, they're thinking this is going to be in the mid 20s or something like that. I'm looking at more or less the mid 30s for both of these teams, in my opinion. But give me Michigan on the road to win this football game. Anyways, moving on to our week 2 Heisman rankings. I'm not sure how you guys agree, but in my estimation, I got Garrett Nussmeier going all the way to the tippy top. He was actually at number 2. And then at number 2, I got Lenora Sellers. At 3, Carson Beck. He just comes out of woodwork and gets into number 3. And Arch Manning, unfortunately, he's got to show me more. Everybody, anointed him as the Heisman favorite, Heisman front runner. He had the greatest Heisman odds, and he just falls all the way down to number 4. I damn near wanted to put him out of the top 5. At number 5, I got Jeremiah Smith still. Julian Sand. I mean, he had a modest game, but I still think Jeremiah Smith, at the end of the day, will put up big numbers. And then my dark horse is Gunnar Stockton out of Georgia, looking like a young Stetson Bennett down there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with it. I mean, Matt and I have both been high on Garrett Nussmeier, and I think this kid's just going to continue to play his butt off. And I can't disagree with you about your number 2, Lenora Sellers. I've been high on this guy as well. I always say reminds me a lot of David Garrard, who played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, if Carson Beck can keep up what he did on Sunday night throughout the remainder of the year, Miami's going to be relevant. They're going to have a phenomenal year. And yeah, we do need to see more from Arch Manning. I think we're going to see what he's capable of doing when SEC play begins. That's going to tell us all we need to know. I couldn't care less about him playing Kent State or any of these, Albany, any of these other lower name schools that you're not accustomed to seeing, on the every week schedule. But I think he's going to be fine. He just they have to simplify the game for him. Lean on Quintravian Wisener. I think he's going to have to be the X factor for Texas. He's a veteran, and yeah, that's going to help him open up the playbook. That'll drag a defense to the line of scrimmage, and then he could take a shot over the top. Running the football still pays dividends today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to throw a couple names out there, in my opinion. I got to go with big game next week. DJ Lagway versus Garrett Nussmeier. DJ comes up, showing up. Oh, and I know Christian got something in the lab for that one. But it's too early for that one. We're doing a quick early preview of LSU, Florida, for week 3. But yeah, DJ Lagway is another one. I think after week 3, it depends on that performance against LSU on the road in Baton Rouge. If DJ Lagway shows up, he may very well get put into this conversation a little bit. And I'll throw out another name too. I throw out Luke Altmaier as well. If he continues to be this consistent for University of Illinois, you might see Luke Altmaier be a guy, be a kid that gets picked in the in the first round of NFL draft. In my opinion, he's that talent. He's looking like that kind of a talent there for the University of Illinois. And then I throw out another name that is sneaky good dual threat guy. Or I throw out 2 names, sneaky dual threat guys. I'm going to go number 1, Haynes King from Georgia Tech, right? Haynes King from Georgia Tech. He had 3 touchdowns in the first week. He has a big game in week 3 against Clemson. We'll see how that goes. And that one's in Atlanta. So that watch out for that one. And then I'm gonna go with the kid from Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, as well. It's another name to keep up with. He's a dual threat kid. He's putting up some numbers for Texas A&M. He's got them in the top 20, and they have a big game against Notre Dame in week 3 next week. So some big things popping for some quarterbacks. This year, though, I will say this, though. This year, we just don't have that running back that stands out. Last year, we had a running back class that was, obviously you had Ashton Dempsey, who pretty much, in my opinion, just came out of the woodworks, with like the big performance early on in the season, and he just kept it going. And then obviously, we all were talking about like Ali Gordon. We still got Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton in Penn State, so I can't really say that. But I mean, there's not really that running back that really stands out this season, in my opinion. It's kind of still looking forward. I think this is the year of the quarterback, more or less. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't forget Cam Scatteraboo in there on the running backs.
Oh yes, yeah, Cam Scatteraboo. Forgot about him.
Out there for us here. No,
yeah, my bad.
New York with Christians, Giants. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the list. There's really no arguments with this. Arch Manning had a huge opportunity last week to go into a very difficult environment against the defending national champions and do something, and he didn't. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't see it, but I pretty much just could tell Ohio State's defense knew exactly what he was going to, be, and pretty much put their game plan, and Arch Manning needs to step it up a little bit more on that. I'm far beyond Nussmeier until he, proves otherwise. I mean, he went out into Death Valley at Clemson, was calm, poised the entire game. I mean, they took over in the second half because of it. So, along with stellar defense from LSU. So yeah, I mean, really no arguments here. And yeah, it's not surprising the quarterbacks are kind of taking leeway this year, especially with the immense amount of running backs from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as the season goes along, I mean, you'll probably see some more names pop up here, and as they come on in terms of wide receiver talent, running back talent. I mean, we still got Ryan Williams over there in Alabama. Looking like if Ty Simpson can kind of pick it up a little bit, he's a guy that you got to watch out for as well. Along with Jeremiah Smith. And there's some other, really good wide receiver talents. I mean, but it's still early in the season to call it. So, anyways, that's week 2 as for the Heisman rankings, and that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World for College Football Showdown, presented by Prime Sports World. And please be sure to catch Christian Simpson's Oklahoma and Michigan preview there tomorrow, 1 hour before kickoff, so you guys don't want to miss that hot content there as he previews that game. And then next week we'll come back with week 3 of the College Football Showdown, and it's just going downhill from here, because the season will go by fast, but I'm just gonna savor it like a piece of steak here. And I hope y'all like y'all steak medium, because I don't like them gym shoes. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, like I say, and as I like to sign off, I'm your host, Israel Rivera. There goes Christian Simpson from the Daily Business Blog, and there goes Matt James, constant contributor here for Prime Sports World. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, as I like to say, in case I missed you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ladies and gentlemen.
Man, and Izzy threw that thing off the backboard like T-Mac did to himself in 02 for me to just say it. Holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out,
Have a good
guys.
weekend. Be safe.
Yep.